If you've ever built a form factor PC, then you know the airflow is a really big hindrance. These cases get hot and stay hot, and I've spent a lot of time working with the airflow in my Fractal Design Node 202. See, when I bought all my components, I was choosing between two CPU fans, the ID Cooling IS40X and the Noctua NH99. And even though the Noctua has a sexier name, the price difference was enough for me to go with the ID Cooling. The only problem was the CPU fan wasn't popular enough to have any 3D print fan duct mods out there. And since my CPU was running at 87 degrees Celsius at load, I decided to spend some time designing one of my own. I started with a simple cylinder. The base is 92mm by 92mm, which is the same length and width as the CPU cooler. The height of the cylinder is 16mm, which fits perfectly in the case up against the side panel. Now, in my painting video, I showed a much taller duct which didn't end up fitting in the case, but gave me a good idea on where to start and how much I'd need to shave it down. After a few tests, I got this, but there were a couple unforeseen issues with this cylindrical duct. See, this case has a dust filter up against the vent, and it was tall enough to press down onto the cylinder that I'd made. As it did this, it would push the duct down into the fan blades, and it would make them scrape up against the print as the fan would spin. Sure, my computer was holding strong at 60 degrees Celsius, but this scraping was really annoying and could potentially destroy the fan blades or the fan motor. So I went back to the drawing board and I made this. Now, this was a much trickier print to make. I measured the edges of the IS40X and got all the measurements that I needed. 4 of the edges would have to be 44.5mm long by 5 inches thick, and 4 more edges would have to be 31.75mm long with the same thickness. After everything was in place, I noticed the edges didn't really match up well. They left a gap, so I filled them in with these little cylinders to make it all look cleaner. The height was 16mm, which was just the same as the original cylinder. After doing some tests, I noticed the cylinder kept the PC 5 degrees cooler on average. Instead of leveling out at about 60, I was now at 65 with this new octagonal print, and every so often the fans would still scrape against the duct. I decided to remove the dust filter, and now that I'm not using it anymore, I no longer have any issues with this scraping, which enticed me to go back to the cylinder that I had since the temps were better. With the original cylinder print installed, my CPU at load holds an almost perfect 60 degrees. Now that the processor was taken care of, the only other thing was the graphics card. I'd been told that these Tri-Fan 3070 Ti's can get really hot, which is why I installed these 120mm Noctua fans into the case. The fans on the GPU are pulling air in, so I oriented the Noctuas to do the same, and for me, I haven't seen my GPU get over 50 degrees Celsius, so either these fans are doing exactly what they need to, or I won the silicon lottery and ended up with a really efficient card. With my GPU at 50 and my CPU at 60, I think I've achieved optimal airflow for this case, and I'm gonna leave my prints in the description just in case you guys need them. I can't be the only one who bought this cooler for the Node 202. This PC was the most complex build I've ever tackled. The building process was a hell of a challenge. Painting the case took about a week of work, and designing these air ducts took about as long, and in the end, everything that I did to this case just makes it cooler.